Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It's a beautiful Friday morning. Today is June 23rd, 2023. We get together with our distribution partners most weekday mornings to talk about tips, strategy, share success stories, and support each of you. I think today's topic will be particularly relevant for those of you who are looking to generate more volume. And of course, you're not a salesperson as a small business consultant. You're creating awareness and helping participants obtain a free funding proposal. And a number of you are pursuing more of what we would call the hunt and peck method of trying to find individual participants. And while that may suffice, if you're looking for greater volume, as we've talked about on prior trainings, we're probably going to be better served to work with key influencers. Today, I'm going to show you in great detail how simple it is, how easy it is to plug into groups of people. So let's go ahead and get started. So our topic is the secret strategy for lead development, specifically hot deals. I don't know if you're familiar with the terminology or hot deal programs, but we're going to certainly get you up to speed over the next few minutes, and then I can show you where to look online to find hot deal models in your community. So as I opened with, as a small business consultant, you are paid to help people. In fact, you earn $3,000 or more, and you don't need to sell anything to anyone. What we do as small business consultants is help small business owners obtain a free funding proposal. If this sentence here doesn't make sense to you, it's not clear to you, we need to go back and either visit some of the prior trainings or schedule a one-on-one. My goal today isn't to prepare you on how to use the free funding proposal. I'm assuming that you know how to do that. But if not, we can address that offline. But the free funding proposal is our primary campaign that we're using to go to the marketplace. Today, we're going to talk about a very simple and effective strategy to take it to the marketplace. And that's what we're saying here. Easy, very effective community outreach strategy to generate leads, earn adult income, helping others. Sound good so far? So let's first talk about relationship-based outreach. So even before I read what's on the screen here, if you were to pick up the phone, and I'm not asking you to do that, but if you were to pick up the phone and call 10 strangers to introduce the free funding proposal, it would probably be a rough go. Because number one, they may not recognize your number. And if they do answer, they're going to be probably highly skeptical. Why is this stranger calling me? It rarely goes well. Now, there's some of you, and there's some people in our society that's really skilled at telemarketing, cold calling, but that's not our model. So instead of that, what if we could reach out to individuals on a relationship-based purpose? And that's what we're discussing here. So when reaching out to prospective participants in what? In the free funding proposal, right? That's the campaign that you and I want to take out to the marketplace. So when reaching out to prospective participants, you're going to be most successful if you have an easily understood reason why you're contacting them. So I'm calling you because of X. Your first sentence, hi, my name's Tom. I'm calling you because of X. If that makes sense to the prospect, now you have their ear, at least for a short window of time, and you can explain your proposition. But if that initial sentence doesn't resonate with them, then they're probably going to not be interested, not listen carefully, or even hang up. So that first sentence stating the reason that you're calling is incredibly important. And so what we're going to do through this strategy is create a legal, a legitimate, an ethical, a moral reason why you're contacting them, so you have a very high chance of engaging them and obtaining a free funding proposal. So it's really all about the first sentence when you call a prospect or text them or email them that's going to determine, are they likely to engage or not? I think sometimes we overlook that. The first sentence is everything in determining if we're going to have a high probability of getting a proposal or not. So continuing on, most people don't like to get cold called. Ironically, I do. People cold call me and I love to talk to people. And people will be thrown off. They're like, you don't even know who I am. I don't care who you are. Let's talk. What do you want to talk about? But that's unusual. Most people don't want to be bothered. Most people don't want to be cold called. And they're quickly trying to determine, should I take this call or not? And if I did take this call, do I want to be on this call any longer or not? Therefore, since most people don't like to be cold called, as I stated, your ability to succinctly state why you are contacting them is crucial to get them either engaged or they're looking to get out of that conversation, off that call, either by not listening, not being open, or just hanging up. So let's pause there before we get into our recommended strategy, which is a good one. It's a proven one. But does this make sense so far? That if you cold call someone and you can't state why you're calling them and it makes sense to them, they're going to be disinterested. Does that make sense? Even if you got the greatest deal in the world, people usually don't like to be bothered. And that first sentence sets the tone. Everybody with me? So now let's talk about how to position not just a clever first sentence, but literally create a relationship-based outreach that matters to the person you're reaching out to, whether it be by call, text, or email. Make sense? All right, so let's talk about hot deals now. What are hot deals? Well, many chambers of commerce offer their membership an opportunity to share special discounts, or what they call hot deals, with their members. Hot deals are sometimes called community deals and are specials that a chamber member wants to make available to others. And it's usually posted on the chamber's website. So it's not that we're clever. It's not that we're the method behind the madness. We don't sell chamber websites. We don't set up hot deal models. But most chambers of commerce, not all, most use a software platform to run the chamber, to keep track of their members, to host their website, and also that software typically has a mechanism for hot deals. And what you could do is just simply Google a few chambers of commerce and go to their website. Not all of them, but many of them will have hot deals posted. So you could type, let's do one here. Let's say that you typed your town, whatever it is, and then hot deal, or your town chamber, and then hot deal. And chances are what will come up is the chamber's website listing hot deals. So the point is, you can submit a hot deal through, and I'm using technical terms, but this is the software. It's called Member Information Center, or MIC. But you can submit a hot deal through the chamber's MIC, or you can have one of the chamber staff people add the deal for your behalf. So it's some promotion, right? So if you and I were HVAC, heating and cooling experts, we might offer a free air conditioner assessment as we get into the summer. Or if we're a plumber, we could do a free plumbing check. Or if we are just think of any person, any business that would offer either something free or something discounted, a promotion. So it can't sound corny, but offering something free or discounted, something of value, is a great way to engage people. So let's continue on. So usually if you go to the local chamber and you see that they have hot deals, it should be apparent to you. You don't have to look too hard. If they do, then you can, through their back office, if you will, their software, submit a hot deal. When you submit that hot deal, it's going to need to be approved, usually by a chamber staff person. And so then they'll review it, normally within 24 to 48 hours, 1 to 2 days, they'll approve it. And then they will notify you via email that it's been approved. And then when these new deals are added, subscribers to the hot deal newsletter mailing list will receive notifications. So let's explain what that means. So let's say you pick a local chamber. Well, it wouldn't have to be local, but let's just use that. So you pick a local chamber, you go to their website and you see that they offer hot deals. It'll be painfully obvious. Not all do, but many do. I would even say most do. Some may offer it, but they don't have anyone offering a deal, so it doesn't show up. So you may even call them. But once you submit, and we'll go through in a moment that part, but once you submit a request to submit a hot deal, it'll go to the chamber. It's usually submitted through their information system, their software. Staff person will review it, approve it, notify you via email, and then chamber members, so the local businesses that are members of that chamber, then will then get notification directly from the chamber. So think about this for a second. So now instead of let's pick any community. And so instead of identifying every small business in the area and cold calling them, what if instead we went through the chamber, we submitted a hot deal, we had the chamber approve it, as we discussed, and then the chamber notifies everyone. Now, that might be enough to get some leads coming back to you, but also it has softened the market, right? Because what we said earlier is most people don't like to be cold called. But now, and you can see where I'm going with this, right? But now if we're calling them, following up on a new chamber hot deal, they're going to be more receptive, and they probably have already seen notification of it. So again, you can go look yourself on any chamber's website and see if they offer hot deals. If they do, my goodness, we need to plug in immediately, and we'll talk specifics in just a moment. If they don't, you still may want to call them. So you might say, well, what's the difference between this and the affinity model? This should be the precursor before we present an affinity proposal. The hot deal is not a revenue share with the chamber. So you're keeping all your money. The chamber doesn't get any revenue share from it. But this is the best practice of first implementing a hot deal, and then we'll discuss more in a moment, 30 days later, then presenting the affinity proposal. So this should come first. This doesn't require the same scrutiny that an affinity offer would. So if you and I were to present an affinity offer, which we've talked about in different trainings, to a chamber, we typically present it to the executive director. The executive directors have to wait and take it to the board. The board often only meets once a month. And so all of a sudden, it's taking a while to get that up and going. And frankly, the board may or may not approve an affinity relationship. So instead of starting with that, we should start with a hot deal with the chamber, whereby in almost every case, maybe not all, but in almost every case, just a simple staff person can accept and approve your hot deal request. And by it being accepted, you're notified from the chamber, and then they normally will do a blast out. They'll normally do a blast out to all the chamber members, which should generate some leads in itself, people contacting you. But above and beyond that, now the market is softened. So when you're reaching out to them, you have a purpose for calling them. You're calling them regarding the chamber hot deal. You see the difference? All right. So what would the hot deal be? Well, to no surprise, the hot deal would be offering chamber members a free funding proposal, right? So we're not changing what we're offering. It's a more advanced, a more sophisticated, but still simple approach to getting the word out, allowing the chamber to take the lead in getting the word out, putting you on the chamber's website because of your hot deal. And then when you're reaching out to chamber members, whether it be calls, text, or emails, now the market is softened and you have a specific reason you're reaching out to them. You're contacting them because of the XYZ chamber hot deal for a free funding proposal. Make sense? All right, now from a proactive outreach, once your hot deal is approved with the chamber, you could just sit back and wait for people to contact you, because now most likely an email from the chamber has gone out to all the chamber members, and also it's on the website. But that's passive. We wouldn't recommend that. Instead, you're probably going to want to reach out to those chamber members. Now, if you don't want to pick up the phone and call them, let us know. We can get other people to call them for you. But we shouldn't be passive. We should get the hot deal set up with the chamber, and then we should be reaching out to the chamber members. And we could use some combination of calls, text, or emails. What we want to do, of course, is introduce them to the new chamber hot deal. What is it? To get a free funding proposal, and then help them get one. Sorry, number 2. So this is a relationship-based approach, because the chamber members have a trusting existing relationship with the chamber. Now you're linking through that, grabbing familiarity, grabbing credibility off of the chamber, positioning as a hot deal, which requires typically very little administrative effort. And then now you can reach out to all the chamber members. Some will probably contact you automatically, but literally then every member of that chamber is now a warm lead of yours, because you have a specific reason to reach out to them to get a free funding proposal, which is a new, essentially it's a new member benefit of being part of the chamber. Okay. So now when you're reaching out to the chamber members, we've got to decide what hat you're wearing. So here we're going to talk about best practice. Not that you have to do this, not that we're persuading you to do this, but if you were to reach out to the chamber members through this hot deal strategy as a nonprofit organization, you're to get the most traction. So if you already have a nonprofit, great, we can plug and play. If not, we can set one up for you. And that's what we're talking about here. We can leverage our business startup package. We can create a nonprofit. We can get you set up as a 501c3. Use that as your vehicle to work with chambers. And then, of course, through the business startup package, then you can also qualify for the Chapman Fund. So do you have to use this advanced strategy? Absolutely not. But just think about when you go through the chamber and post a hot deal, you have to identify who you are. And you can't represent us in that relationship. So you either represent yourself or your current business. If you or your current business isn't positioned properly, then we won't have as good of success with this strategy than if we actually help you set up a nonprofit and then use that nonprofit to go through the chamber for the hot deal campaign. Does that make sense? So let me summarize, and then we'll open it up for questions and dialogue. You all have been very quiet this morning, so either it makes perfect sense or it's a little too early or it's overwhelming. But let me hit my summary, and then I want to get your feedback on this strategy. So in summary, this is a simple and effective way to generate participants. It's by going through chambers of commerce and leveraging their hot deal offerings as described above. You're not trying to get chambers to start a hot deal program. That's not it. Almost all, not all, but almost all chambers already have that mechanism in place. They may have a little bit of participation, they may have no participation. So you might be the only hot deal on their website, or you might be one of many. Once we have a hot deal set up with the chamber and operational for 30 days, then we can work together to try to pivot that relationship from a hot deal to an affinity-based relationship. So when you set up a hot deal, and I didn't mention this very clearly before, when you set up a hot deal, it asks for a time frame. How long is it for? You're going to make it for 30 days. You don't want to make it forever because that doesn't create urgency. But wait, we have a promotion for chamber members for the next 30 days. So we would run that hot deal for 30 days, get as many clients involved as possible, create success stories, and then we go back to the chamber and say, you know, this has gone really well. We've gotten funding for 18 local businesses. So we'll compile our stat sheet, our success record. Then we'll seek to pivot the chamber to an affinity model, which would include a revenue share model with them. But then we have local success stories. So we're not recommending going straight for an affinity relationship with chambers. Instead, we should start with the hot deal and then pivot after 30 days to the revenue share model, which is affinity. So start with a hot deal, get clients funded, 30 days later, pivot to the affinity. All right, so I'm doing all the talking. I need to get each of you involved here. So let me make this smaller so we can see more of it. Won't be able to see maybe all of it, or the font will be too small. But let's get to your questions, comments, concerns. So Daphne, for example, Daphne, you are the executive director of a chamber, and Daphne, you have access to, I think, hundreds of other chamber executives. Do you mind taking a moment to typing into the Q&A from your perspective, because you're our target audience, Daphne? What's your feedback on this approach? Holly, you and I were talking yesterday about different, more sophisticated approaches to generating leads rather than cold calling and one by one, how to use influence-based marketing. And that's what we're talking about here, relationship-based marketing. Holly, do you mind giving us your feedback? Same with Jeanette, Kelly. Lon, you're building a big organization to drive in lots of volume. Lon, what's your feedback on using this type of strategy? Anyone else? Looking for your comments, your questions, your feedback. If it's a lot to assimilate, then the first thing that you can do is just simply do a Google search for chambers in your area, go to their website and see if they currently offer hot deals. Oh, didn't want to do that. If they currently offer hot deals. However, that is not a fail-safe, because I can tell you a lot of chambers don't do much to get their members to post hot deals. So it very well be that they have this engine, this ability, this setup, but they're not leveraging it. And so they would probably be very receptive if you, in fact, offered a hot deal. They like that. Hot deals are something valuable. When we go to set up an affinity program, that may very well be something that's different for them. And when we're asking a chamber, or anyone, but a chamber in this case, to do something different, that requires effort and energy. But to set up a hot deal through them is really not much more than a click of the mouse. They just simply need to approve it. So in general, going to chambers that currently have hot deals promoted would be the path of least resistance. And alternatively, you could certainly reach out to chambers where you don't see a hot deal and see if that's something that they would consider. All right, so Daphne says, sounds great. Thank you, Daphne. So Daphne, with your chamber, are you using a software like many chambers are that have the hot deal mechanism built into it? or would this be something outside of your standard software? Daphne, just curious. All right, Kelly says she thinks it's a great model. I do too. It's much better than cold calling. We have many of you asking for leads, or you're buying leads. We have one gentleman, he's buying leads, and the leads that he's generating are cold, and it's painful. It's not the way that this is designed to be. I don't encourage you to go out and buy leads, cold leads, to spend money. Instead, let's do relationship-based outreach. And this model here will work. Now, I'm not saying every chamber has a hot deal, but many do. And if they do offer hot deals, then this should be pretty much an automatic approval. The consideration, though, is how you're going to position yourself for it, because you don't have authority to act and create contractual relationships for our business. So with that being said, you're going to either work through the chamber as you as an individual, or you an existing business that you own, or we can work with you to set up a nonprofit organization for this purpose. We'd recommend that third option, but it's certainly not required. So Pauline says she already has an LLC, so that's fine. So if your LLC makes sense, Pauline, so if you look at the name and the description and the services that your LLC offers, and if it would make sense to these Chamber of Commerce members as you're leveraging this hot deal approach, you're set to go. But if not, we've got to be cognizant. Well, let's say, and I'll pick an exaggerated example. Let's say you're an auto mechanic, and there's nothing wrong with being an auto mechanic. It's needed, it's valuable, it's credible, it's honorable. But if you saw an auto mechanic was offering a hot deal for free funding proposals, it would not make that much sense. So we need to be cognizant of how you're positioned. We recommend setting up a nonprofit for you and running this through your nonprofit, but you don't have to do it that way. So Pauline says she already has an LLC. Great. So if you feel like your LLC is going to be well received in this campaign, run with it. If not, we may want to have a different entity, and we'll do the filing of the nonprofit for you for free, and that's not a barrier. But it's up to you. But that's a decision you have to make on how you're going to position yourself. We know what the proposition is. We want to get free funding proposals. All right, so Daphne, again, she's executive director of a chamber. She says, because every chamber needs products to market to the business owners, they would normally try to do it in-house, but every business needs third-party services. And yeah, she's using a CRM, she says, that has hot deals. So, and most chambers do. There's a couple companies that offer essentially software to manage chamber operations, and hot deals, I believe, are built into those. If you get into a really, really large chamber where they have a custom application, it may or may not be there. Daphne asked how long it would take us to get the nonprofit set up. A week, if you wanted to do the business startup package, and we can arrange financing for all that, so you don't have to pay for that out of pocket. We can get a nonprofit set up normally in 7 days. Could be less, shouldn't be more. Kelly's asking more about that. So there's different ways to go about setting up a nonprofit in response to Kelly's question, but what most people are doing is just using our business startup package, and you'll see that that's a page on your website, Kelly, and everyone else. And so you can submit yourself for the business startup package, and that would allow us to get your nonprofit set up, get it credible, and you would have access to the Chapman Fund, as well as be well positioned for the hot deals. So not required, not pushing you, not trying to persuade you to do this, but I am bringing to your attention how you're positioned when you go through the chamber for the hot deals matters. Remember, we used the example a moment ago. If you're a mechanic and you're offering free funding proposals, it just doesn't make sense. It's not going to carry much weight. If you're a baker, or if you're a dog walker. So if your current business model If it makes sense, awesome. If not, we need to make sure that we're positioning you so you look credible as we launch this, because that's really the only risk. This will absolutely work 100% of the time, contingent upon two things. Does the chamber offer hot deals? If they don't, we need to probably move on to another chamber, which there's lots of them. We could look up, I'll pull up here how many chambers there are, but there's a bunch. Let me see. How many chambers of commerce in the US? There are 2,800 chambers, it says. So there's a couple thousand of them. Many of them offer hot deals, not all of them. So we should focus on those that do. And then, so two reasons this could fail. First reason it could fail is if the chamber doesn't have a hot deal, then we can't plug and play. But of those 2,800, my guess is 2/3 of them offer hot deals. May not be visible on their website if they don't have anyone currently participating. So you may have to call them in and ask them. And then the only other reason that this could fail, first would be if they don't offer hot deals, and of course we can't do it. The only other reason it would fail is if you're not positioning yourself credibly. And Holly's even asking, how important is it that you do it as a nonprofit? It doesn't have to be a nonprofit. That would be best. Like everything in life, there's good, better, and best. Best would be setting this up as a nonprofit, but it's not essential. Better would be having a business entity that we're running this through, that you own. It's your business, you're getting paid from it, that makes logical sense. What would be bad is to have something like the mechanic, like the baker, and where people would say, well, wait, you're offering to give free funding proposals and it doesn't even seem to have anything to do with your business type. That's where it would fail. But again, it's up to you. If anyone wants, you can email us. Well, frankly, you can go to your website. If you want us to set up a nonprofit for you, just simply go to your replicated website, go to the business startup package and click on there and submit yourself as a lead. It's crazy something. All right. Lon says he's going to come back and listen to this training again and give us some feedback. That is fine, Lon. Let's see. So Holly has a good question. So technically, so Holly's question is about getting a nonprofit set up. So we can you can do it, or we can help you with the business startup package. We can help you get a nonprofit formed in about 7 days, about a week through the startup package. So it's not immediate, won't take too long. And we got 4th of July coming up, and so that could throw it off a little bit, but in about a week. So that is nonprofit status through the Secretary of State. What Holly's mentioning is then we would turn around and we would do the federal filing, and we can help you with that. And with the federal filing, it'll take a little bit longer, but while the federal filing is in process, we can go ahead and operate immediately as a nonprofit. So literally what I say is true. In about 7 days, we could be open and operational. Then once we have the nonprofit formed with the Secretary of State, then the second step is filing with the federal government to get the 501c3 designation. That is going to take a little bit longer, but as long as we get that application in, we can operate in that capacity. We would just have to tell them that our 501c3 is pending. We wouldn't lie, mislead, but we can certainly be operating the organization in 7 to 10 days. So that's where the confusion was. So you have at the state level and the federal level. State level, we can turn around quickly. We'll help you with the federal filing, of course, at no cost, but with the federal filing, it'll take longer for that approval, but we do not have to wait for the federal approval to start operations. I think that's where the confusion was. Thank you, Holly, for pushing me to give you more detail on that. So again, if your goal is to help people and make money, you have lots of options in society. This is one option, is to help people get free funding proposals. You should make at least $3,000 for each time we help someone. As a small business consultant, in fact, you've promised, you've committed that we would go out and help at least 2 clients a week, 8 clients a month. If what you're doing is working, it's not broken, why change it? But if you're looking for a simple and effective way to generate more money, to help more people more easily, I strongly encourage you to work through a sphere of influence-based approach. So do chambers have a sphere of influence over their membership? Absolutely. Would it be nice to set up an affinity model with them so they're pushing it out and paid for that, so they're motivated? Absolutely. But the affinity proposal should be step 2. Step 1 needs to be getting this hot deal set up with them, getting some clients in the first 30 days, creating client success stories, and then we want to integrate that in to our affinity proposal. So step 1, we'll get a hot deal set up with 1 or more chambers that you want to work with. Step 2, after 30 days, then we'll submit a proposal and include local business success stories. That's the recipe for success. Anyone have questions? All right, Sarah's asking about action steps. And so from an action step perspective, obviously we're scheduling weekly one-on-one calls with each of you. You should be doing that, and hopefully you're doing that. If not, we encourage you to do so. Secondly, you need to identify the chamber or chambers that you would like to work with and pay most attention to those that currently offer hot deals. And then at that point, you're going to get plugged into the chamber. You're going to submit a hot deal request. If you need help with that, let us know. And with that hot deal request, it's normally approved within a day or 2 by a chamber staff person. At that point, they'll notify you, and they'll also push out notification to all the chamber members. So that should generate some inbound leads for you. Then we need to start reaching out to those chamber members. But now we're not cold calling them. We're using a relationship-based outreach model. We're inviting them to participate in the new chamber benefit, which is to get a free funding proposal. And you understand that proposition. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Let us know if there's anything that we can do to help. Call, text, email. Email may be best. We should be having scheduled weekly calls, and that's where we talk about our successes and our struggles. We develop strategies. This is what I'd like all of you to consider in July. Let's at least try it for 1 month. For the month of July, we'd like every one of you to set up at least 1 hot deal. Now, if you want to do multiple, that's fine, but that should be our priority. Let's set up a hot deal. We've got about a week now to prepare for it. And then starting in July, let's run through the month of July, have a hot deal. And I think you'll be very impressed, maybe even surprised, with the number of clients that you'll develop, the amount of money that you'll make, and how fun and easy it is. It's not out hunting and pecking for individual participants. All right, well, thanks everyone. Again, let us know if there's anything we can do to support you. We'll be back Monday morning, and we'll talk more about this. Hopefully you'll bring your questions and thoughts, and we'll have a roundtable discussion on this topic on Monday morning. Thanks everyone. Have a good day and a good weekend. Bye.